Hello, and thanks for clicking play. I'm Leisa Greathouse, one of the content development historians for the North Carolina History Center on the Civil War, Emancipation, and Reconstruction, and welcome to our first episode of North Carolina History Quiz Time. And welcome to our first episode of the North Carolina History Quiz Time. We will share with you 5 trivia questions. Click pause if you'd like a moment to think of the answer, and then click play again and we'll discuss the answer together. If you're ready, we'll get going on the first question. What Confederate Navy ironclad was attacked and sunk by a torpedo on a nighttime raid? The answer is the CSS Albemarle, built on the Roanoke River at Edwards Ferry. Union Navy picket boat number 1 sank the Albemarle in October of 1864. Lieutenant William B. Cushing, a Union naval officer, and a crew of 14 sailors detonated a spar torpedo at the waterline of the Albemarle. Picket boat number 1 was lost in the attack. Of the Union crew, only Lieutenant Cushing and 1 sailor escaped. 2 Union sailors drowned, and 11 were captured. Let's move on to question number 2. What famous Confederate spy drowned off the coast of North Carolina on October 1st, 1864? The answer is Rose O'Neal Greenhow, who was returning from Europe on a Confederate blockade runner called the Condor. The Condor ran aground while being chased by Union blockade ships. Greenhow was fearful of being captured by the Union, so she requested that a small ship's boat row her to shore the rest of the way. In rough seas, the small boat capsized. Everyone survived except Greenhow because she had $2,500 in gold sewn in her dress, and it pulled her under. Let's go on to question number 3. Who was Mrs. Lincoln's personal dressmaker that was formerly enslaved in North Carolina? Some of you may know that Mary Todd Lincoln's dressmaker was a woman named Elizabeth Hobbs Keckley. Her mother was named Agnes. Her father was their enslaver, a man named Armistead Burwell. In 1832, Keckley was sent to Hillsborough, North Carolina, to be enslaved to Burwell's son. Keckley was a highly skilled seamstress and dressmaker, and she used that skill to purchase her freedom in 1855 for $1,200. Keckley eventually moved to Washington, D.C. and met Mary Todd Lincoln and became the first lady's dressmaker. Well, let's move on to question number 4. Who was the North Carolina general from Terrell County that was a division commander at Gettysburg, but died on July 17, 1863? The answer is James Johnston Pettigrew. He was a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and valedictorian of his class in 1847. He was proficient in several languages. He was known as a scholar, lawyer, author, and politician. At the Battle of Gettysburg, General Pettigrew commanded Henry Heath's division during Pickett's charge. He was fatally wounded in the stomach at Falling Waters during the Confederate retreat from Gettysburg. Now it's time for our last question for this episode. Here's question 5. What was the derogatory nickname that North Carolina had in the 1830s? North Carolina was nicknamed the Rip Van Winkle state. Like the character Rip Van Winkle of Washington Irving's story, North Carolina was accused for sleeping for 20 years because it lagged behind in economics, education, and transportation. Join us again for the North Carolina History Quiz Time. Thanks for clicking play. I'm Leisa Greathouse.